There goes the shark.
Oh, come on.
There he goes.
This is just one.
Hudson caught a fish. It's Jake's turn to get over there. We're next to everybody.
Let's go over there and look at it. Hudson got a fish.
That's awesome, Hudson. Good job. Good morning, everybody. It's the heat of the summer, and today I'm going bank fishing, and I'm going to take you with me. All right, so let me show you this little lake. This is just a little farm pond that I asked permission to fish. Yes, I ask permission to fish. I don't sneak onto people's property. That gets you shot. All right, so when I first get to a lake, first thing I look at is I look at the watercolor. And the watercolor at this lake is fairly clear, about 2 foot visibility, so it lets me know I'm going to be using natural color baits, green pumpkins, maybe a shad color. I know there's no shad in this lake, but still a shad, a white or a white and chartreuse still works in any lake. It just all depends, but mainly natural colors, nothing I would use in muddy water like a big heavy spinner bait, bright colors, or maybe a black and blue. I might throw a black and blue in there, but I doubt it. So watercolor first, then I try to identify the deepest water in the lake. So the deepest water in the lake is on the other side. It's where they built the dam. And so you look at the dam, and basically when they build these lakes, these man-made lakes, these little farm ponds, a lot of times they'll dig down just in front of where they're going to build the dam, and then they'll just pile that dirt up and make the dam, then let it fill in. And so I'm expecting that to be the deepest water. It's real shallow on this side. There's some bluegill spawning right here, things like that. So I'm going to work the bank really quick. I'm going to use a spinner bait. I'm going to use a frog. It's really early in the morning, summertime, really hot, so I want to get out here early in the morning and just catch some fish. You know, and if you're in a lake that's got steep, a steep bank on either side that's not the dam, start there. That's where the deepest water is going to be. The fish are going to be closest to the deepest water because that's where they feel safe if anything happens, so they can get to that deep water really quick. All right, so as I'm walking along this bank, I am looking for activity. I'm looking for fish that are going along the bank, but mainly I'm looking for things that stick out further than anything else. You look along this bank and we have a little tree right here you can't see, but this little pine looks like a Christmas tree somebody laid in the water. A little bit of grass that sticks out a little bit further. It doesn't really touch the water, but it's something the fish can see when they're shallow and they can locate to. Anything that sticks out a little bit further, those are points. May not be points of land, but they're points. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. What I've got tied on is I got a frog rod. This isn't going to last very long. I've got a spinning rod that's going to take its place here in just a little bit. But a frog rod, a spinner bait. See, got a little top-toed, little spinner bait, and yes, that is a Senko. Great pond fishing bait, although I don't fish them. All right, so I always like to carry 3 rods with me. 4 is just too many. And like I said, I usually, if I'm not fishing early in the morning, I have a frog rod with me and I'll just take it back to the truck when I'm done, when the sun comes out. But I like to have a medium action, a medium heavy action, or power, medium heavy power, and a spinning rod, something like a medium light action spinning rod that I can do a lot of finesse stuff, especially a pond I've never been to before. I want something I can fish really light stuff with. So that spinning rod really comes into play. And I'm going to throw this little Senko around. This is the only Senko I have and it's torn up. So I don't keep very many Senkos, that's for sure. And this is the one time that I will chase blow-ups. There was a blow-up right here. There was a fish right here on this grass too. So like this green grass, these little bushy grass that's on the bank, doesn't really touch the water, but I just chased a fish off of this bushy grass and there was a blow-up on that bushy grass. So let's see what happens. We'll throw well past it. Oh, might have spooked it, dadgummit. All right, so now as you're walking along the bank, just pay attention. Look for little signs, of more life on one side of the lake than other. There was a couple of blow-ups on this side. There was a couple of blow-ups on that side. I'm looking for little bait fish swimming in the water. all kinds of different stuff. Just kind of, you know, just be observant. Something different in the water. See that drain pipe right there? I don't know if you guys can see it, a little white pipe right there. I'm going to cast at that drain pipe because it's something different. Now, when you approach a bank, these fish can feel the vibration on the ground. So you really want to be quiet with your feet is a main thing. First thing I do when I get to a bank is I want to throw close to where I'm going to be standing. So I'm going to check this area right here. I'm going to make what's called a fan cast. I'm going to do fan casting. I'm going to throw close to the bank, side to side. One there, one that way, right along the side of the bank to start with. Then I'm going to work my way out and I'm going to cast in a fan motion. You know, maybe a short cast, maybe long casts. If I see something I want to go to, I really want to see what the depth is here. So I'm going to throw it out there, something that sinks, but not a Senko, because it takes too long to get to the bottom. And I'm going to see how long that thing takes to get to the bottom. So that's kind of deep. That's probably 10 feet deep, 8 to 10 feet deep right there. So I just kind of know the depth, the fall rate of this spinnerbait, and that's kind of important. Know the fall rate of your bait. Find about 2 feet of water, throw into it. See how long it takes to get to the bottom, and then you know your fall rate. So my kids finally showed up. Guess they didn't want to wake up early this morning. There's a bite. Got him. Dead stick in a lizard. Nice. Little dinky doo. Nice fish though. All right, so what I learned from that bite was a couple of things. I was pulling this thing through the grass, and you learn what things feel like on the bottom just from experience. So I was pulling it through the grass, and I pulled it just a little bit, and then I stopped it. And I just let it sit there. So I was basically what I call soaking or dead sticking my bait. So I threw it out there, and I just kind of let it sit down. And I let it fall into the grass, and I just kind of tugged on it just a little bit, and then I just let it sit there. And then about 4 or 5 seconds later, I just felt a little tap on the end of the line. Waited for a second because it didn't feel like one of those big thumps that you feel from a big fish, but just a tap on the end of the line. So I just pulled it out of the grass. I'm letting it sit on top of the grass right now. And I'm just going to move it a little bit more, let it sit there. And that's the way I'm going to fish for a little bit, just to see if I can duplicate that. May not have been an exact spot, but it may have been the action of the bait. Did I fish it really fast, or was I fishing it really slow? And in this case, I was fishing it really, really slow. The advantage of fishing from the bank when you're fishing a lake that has grass around the edges is that those bass like to travel along that grass. They like to travel along that outside edge of the grass. And so you can actually drag it on the bottom until you get to that grass. And when you get to that grass, you can just sit there and shake it. Or you can let it sit there for a while, sit there and shake it. It's hard to do that from a boat because you're dragging from the shallow off of that deep, the edge of that grass, and then when you pull it off of that grass, that bait a lot of times, like the grass line's running right here and your bait's coming this way, that bait a lot of times fall away from the grass line as you pop it off of the edge of it. So it really is an advantage to be on the bank when you're fishing this basically grass that's along the bank but still submerged. So what I did is I switched to one of my favorite small lake rigs, something that whenever somebody asks me, it tells me I've never caught a fish before I tell them to tie this on. This is called a Mojo rig. I've got another older video on how to rig and how to fish this bait. But if you can't find these little sinkers right here, they're very hard, I make them, but they're very hard to find, just pinch a split shot on the front of it and it's what's called a split shot rig. And it's made to fish on top of the submerged grass. And it's a finesse technique. I've got 8-pound test fluorocarbon on here. I've got a braided line as a main line. You don't have to do that. You can use monofilament, anything but light line, light little hook. I'm using a little tiny baby brush hog right now, or or speed craw, a little speed craw. And if that doesn't work, I've got some 5-inch lizards in my pocket. I normally fish this with a straight tail worm like a plasma tail. I just don't have any with me right now, so I have to use what I've got because I'm not going back to the house. All right, so the sun is out. Clouds have gone away. And what the bass are doing right now is they're transitioning from shallow all out to the deeper water. And luckily with this lake, it looks like the deeper water is just right here. That's all shallow, really, really shallow. And so eventually they're gonna get all the way out here, out to some places they can hide out. Your options or my options today are simple. I can stay here and wait for them to come, or I can beat the heat and go home and get in the air conditioning. I'm gonna stay out here for a little bit longer. I got a lot of stuff to do today, but I'm gonna try to catch one more fish before we end this video. Hopefully it's a big one, so stick around. All right, so I'm back over here where I caught that last one. I think I just got a bite. Came right back to the same place and caught another dink. I'll be dang. Must be something there to hold them if there's more than one there. He had a little bitty fish. He had high hopes. He's about as long as the lizard I was fishing. There you go, swimming away. Still fun. I don't care what size they are, they're fun. Let's go back and catch another one. So basically what I've done is I've gone around the lake, I've identified the deepest part of the lake. I've started there and kind of worked my way out, went over, checked the shallow area. There were a few fish, my kids were catching them, but they're not that many of them over there. Caught the one here at the deep spot. Figured out what kind of a mood they were in. That's huge. That's so huge. Once you find the fish, you get bit once, you want to kind of get clues as to what kind of a mood they're in. And they're in the mood to feed off the bottom, and that's why I'm throwing something that's close to the bottom. Ooh. And so I match their mood. I locate them. I take a clue as to what mood they're in and try to match the mood. And I did that with this Mojo Rig Lizard. Something close to the bottom, something small, because I don't think there's very many big fish in this lake. And you catch bass just like that. All right, well, before I get finished with this video, let me tell you guys about a company I just started. It's called Fishing Shirt of the Month Club. I'll leave a link down in the description, but for $10 a month, I send you a shirt either that I design or one of my friends design and I approve. Not all of them are gonna have my logo on it. Actually, very few of them are, but go check it out and subscribe, dude. It's pretty cool. But anyway, Fishing Shirt of the Month Club. Well, like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing, introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish. Have a great day. See ya.